What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019, and I'm still very much under the weather, and I apologize because of the poor quality of the broadcast, but I didn't want to do a best of. I didn't want to do a repeat again, so we're just going to struggle through this as best we can today. So the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. So let's get right on into it. And rather interesting, Jens Stoltenberg yesterday, Trump played up the pledges for increased military spending, pushing for even more. He cheered the great strides made in Afghanistan by NATO while terming the war itself as ridiculous, which it is. So we know that Trump is weary of the Afghan war. I'm weary of the Afghan war. You're probably weary of the Afghan war. And they're hoping that there's going to be some kind of a negotiated deal to just get out of this mess without having to admit that we lost the way the Soviets did. That's what's going on there. Over in South America, down in Venezuela, Maduro has replaced the country's electricity minister because of the string of 3 nationwide blackouts that sparked protest against the lack of basic services, including the water supply. Now, Reuters quoted Maduro saying the new minister is himself an electrical engineer. This, however, is unlikely to help much with the root causes of the crisis. Maduro himself is blaming the blackouts on the United States, calling it sabotage. So hopefully they'll get that all sorted out. Apparently, electricity will be rationed for at least a month following this third blackout. And the rationing, according to Maduro, will help authorities deal with the consequences of the power outages. So we'll see what happens with that down there. Okay, let's talk about the Russian collusion hunt. Okay, it's blown up, this whole Russian collusion story. Robert Mueller basically had, $30 million he spent, 600 plus days, trying to find evidence that Donald Trump and the Russian government colluded to steal the 2016 election. They basically came up empty. It's absolutely empty. So now it's time to go the other way. Okay, let's look at all these accusers who cried the loudest about leaking, collusion, lying, and obstruction. It's time to go after them. So apparently Mueller's documents, his final report, is likely to be released in unredacted form. And that's probably going to be very, very embarrassing to a lot of people. And it should be. You know, I'm not a big fan of Trump. He's been a terrible disappointment to me. But he is the elected president of the United States of America. And this was an attempted coup d'etat. And the coup plotters need to be held to account for it. That's what's going on here. Apparently, Piers Morgan has decided that he wants to sign on as one of Joe Biden's supporters. There's all of this, concern about his hugging and his touching. And Piers Morgan is saying that if Joe Hugger Biden, who's one of America's most decent men, isn't virtuous enough to be president, then who the heck is? I don't know how virtuous Joe Biden is. I know that some of the ways he touches children is, in fact, a little bit creepy. But I also know that a lot of this, oh, he touched me, he touched me, he touched me, is a bit of an overreaction. Some guys are just affectionate. I know, I'm one of them. Let's take a phone call. Jim in Chicago. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. A couple things. You know, Trump is talking about shutting down the border. Doesn't he realize if he did that, the economy is shaky to begin with, and plus, you know, there's going to be a shortage of food. If that was to happen, I think it might even collapse the economy because, you know, goods would not be going back and forth. It would hurt the Canadian economy, and, you know, people would be out of work, and there would be less food on the store shelves.
Well, I think Trump is trying to make a point that the government of Mexico needs to step in and stop this migration problem, because so far they haven't. They just welcome them at their southern border, bus them to the northern border, walk them across into the United States, and that's basically the end of it. And I think Trump is kind of tired of that, and so am I.
But wouldn't it be better to send the military down there?
Military, wall, something has to be done, but nothing is being done, and that's the part that really angers me.
Because, you know, shutting down, you know, the entire border and not allowing goods to come to America or goods going to Mexico, I think that might be either being desperate or not really thinking. I would just send the military down there. You know, that's what I would do.
Well, I think Trump is trying to put economic pressure on Mexico to step up and enforce their own immigration laws, which they're not doing.
Well, the pressure would hurt America as well.
Yes, it would. After 3 weeks, there'd be no more avocados in this country.
Right. You know, the other point I want to bring up, I'm glad to see those rich parents spend their time in court today. And I know a lot of them might be getting some jail time or fines. So, again, it's nice to see where the Justice Department is not only going after poor people, but also rich people.
Yeah, that is a good thing to see. And, again, this whole admissions cheating scandal has damaged the credibility of these prestigious universities and college as a whole.
Right. And this is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
So, well, Mike, I'm going to let you go. You take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go, Jim. The phone lines are open. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network here. Okay. Liberals are preparing for a National Day of Action on the 4th of April, which is basically tomorrow, if the Mueller report is not released by midnight tonight. They want the whole report out there unredacted. They just want that. They want to look at it. They're convinced there'll be something in there that will result in Trump's impeachment. There could actually be something in there that's going to damage a lot of liberal politicians. This could literally blow up in their face. But, hey, I'm not going to stop them from being idiots about this whole situation. Go for it here. All right, let's talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he still hasn't actually officially declared if he's running for president in 2020. But already he's under attack for his what is called inappropriate behavior toward women, his touching, his smelling of their hair, his kissing, which, again, in my age would have been considered just plain old affection. But today it's considered, it's offensive, we can't do it. The other part that is coming out to haunt him is his strong-arming in Ukraine. Because back in January of last year, Biden literally boasted in the Council on Foreign Relations that he threatened Poroshenko and former Prime Minister Yatsenyuk into firing prosecutor Viktor Shokin in March 2016, apparently because they were investigating his son. And Biden, he said he gave him a 6-hour deadline to fire him or he would pull $1 billion in loan guarantees. And yes, the guy got fired. Well, that's definitely meddling in other countries' business. All right, back to the phones here. Dave in Delaware. Aloha, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Dave, are you there? Going once?
Yeah.
There you are.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Well, I'm not feeling too well.
I know it sounds like it. Are you drunk?
I wish. No, I'm fighting a bug.
Nah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to, I didn't really want to talk about the Mueller report. I just wanted to see how you were doing, because every time I call in, you always try to cut me off about different things and stuff. You seem like you're a little under the weather today, Mike. Like, how you doing? Like, your hands on your face? I don't know what's going on.
Well, I've picked up some kind of a bug. I think I got it from Claire's church, and I'm in day 3 of it. It's just a really bad one. What can I tell you?
Yeah, I feel you. I'm just saying, because the show's getting kind of stale, Mike, like the past couple of days, and even before when you were on there, it's getting kind of funny, man.
Well, I'm doing the best that I can, and I don't know. Maybe I should just get off the air and sign off and have Mike do a best of for the rest of the 2 hours.
No, you shouldn't do that, because we're all waiting for Dustin to call in from New Jersey. You know that's the highlight of the show.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, no, or maybe Mark will call in. Mark, he always has some good, points of views, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I still want to paint it with a broad brush, but they're both Jewish, Mike.
No, we don't go there. We talk about individuals. We don't paint. We don't paint with a broad brush.
Well, I know we don't. That's right. That's correct, Mike. It's not all of them, but what about the Sackler family? Remember, I called in before, but then that all came out, and you reported afterward after you cut me off and scolded me the one time.
Well, the Sackler family are in trouble right now because they're getting hit with all these lawsuits over the abuse of OxyContin.
I know. And I called in before and talked about how they were Jewish, and you cut me off, and you were like, we don't.
Well, again, I'll talk about them as the Sackler family and its pharmaceutical executives, and they're being sued. But the fact that they're Jewish, I don't think is relevant.
No, okay, that's fine. What about Tulsi Gabbard? Let's talk about that.
Okay.
You want to talk? But why? So, if you put it this way, so Trump was anti-war, right?
Yes.
She's anti-war.
Yes, she is.
Trump was, and then Trump was, pro-Second Amendment. She's completely anti-Second Amendment.
That's definitely an area where Tulsi and I disagree.
I know, but so what promise do you think she's going to keep? Because look what Trump did. He completely cucked on all the wars and all that. Like, he went sideways. And then, so what do you think she's going to do when she gets in there?
I don't think she's going to get in there. I'm sorry. I mean, I like Tulsi. I think she's great. She's an actual veteran. She served in the combat zone. But because she's anti-war, I don't think she's going to go anywhere. She's not going to get the support to be a serious candidate in 2020. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it.
Okay. So what do you think any of these politicians in there are going to do if they get elected? You think they're all going to, do you think any of them are going to change anything?
I think by the time they get through that whole primary process, all we're going to have are yet another sellout on both sides, like we did with George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and whoever's coming up next. They'll just take our money, spend it on war, spend it on Israel, and that will basically be it.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see, Mike. I hope you have a good show. I'm going to let you go, okay?
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, two things, Mike. About one is, I think with Biden, what you got just is the tip of the iceberg, because this touchy-feely stuff is bad enough, okay? But what's really going to get him, if he goes in, and I don't think he's going to come into the become a candidate because of this, is Ukraine. It's catching up with him now. Okay, the corruption is involved with Ukraine. Jack Posobiec had a big doing a big investigation on it. Fault Lines radio show, I think TV with Hanahan and Nixon. They're doing a big They're all over this thing, and it's starting to come out. I don't think they can hold it in anymore. And if Biden goes in, him and his son, not knee deep, it's waist deep into this. I think that's what's going to bring it down. It's probably keeping him out right now. The other thing is about Tulsi Gabbard. Were you just talking about with this guy? I tend to disagree. I think she's got a good chance. I'll tell you why. The minute she starts comparing, once he gets on the debate stage, it looks like she's going to make it there. She's very close to the 65,000 contributors, which I'm proud to have already contributed on. I think she's got to. I think she's got a good chance because she's going to show everybody. She'll be the only veteran in the stage, and she'll make a mockery out of the others with their pro-war stance and all that, and talk about how we all should overthrow Assad and we should do it in Venezuela and all that. That's gonna. She's gonna rise. She's already rising in the polls. She's already getting it. There's stuff already on the internet that she's starting. People are becoming more familiar with her, and she's got the right message. I don't know what she is for the Second Amendment. I'm not very happy over that. Obviously, but we need to get out of these wars. We need to bring down the defense budget.
I agree. I would love to see Tulsi Gabbard, become the candidate in 2020. I think the odds are stacked against her, but I'd like to see it happen. I'm not an enemy of Tulsi Gabbard. I get text messages from her on my phone here, on my watch here all the time. But because she is anti-war and because the military-industrial complex is so powerful, there are a lot of forces arrayed against her.
There are, but she'd have a better shot at dealing with them than Trump does. First of all, she's not overawed by these generals. Kind of like JFK was not overawed by the generals, and it probably saved us from blowing up the planet right back there in the Cuban Missile Crisis. But he didn't let these generals and CIA people boss him around because he was a veteran, a war hero, as a matter of fact, in World War II, and she's a veteran, so she knows what a general really is. It's like I was in war, but I was in the Army, and I know what most people get the flag rank, especially since after World War II. Most of these guys get the flag rank because they got their heads where. Okay? Yes. No other reason. The best troops don't make it to general or to flag rank. The best troops get maybe the major, colonel, or whatever else because they do open their mouth, and they tend not to get the promotions, and they're too hockey, and they're real patriots. But so I'm not. She wouldn't be intimidated by them. I really think that she's got. She's very good at delivering what she has to say. She's not intimidated by these people, these idiots on the MSNBC, CNN, and I don't think it's going to work. I think she's got a good shot. Now, I will say this. Trump does not get us into a war. Hopefully he won't. And if the economy is in reasonably good shape, I know it's not as good as they make it out to be, but just keeps going maybe the way it is right now, he's going to be very hard to beat. But if he gets us into a war, he's done. He's finished. And of course, if the economy... Yeah,
I'm not so sure. I know a lot of people are saying Trump is a shoo-in after the collapse of the Russian collusion investigation. I'm not so sure. No, anyway, listen, Mark, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. Got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And again, Republic Broadcasting thanks those of you who have donated. You're keeping us alive. You're keeping us on the air. Without you, we would not be here. That's just how serious it is. So the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can call in with a debit or credit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. Okay, let's see. We got a bunch of callers out here. Let's try Eddie in Las Vegas. Aloha, Eddie. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, Mike. Well, one thing that's always on my mind when I listen to this show is, God, what is it like living in Hawaii? I wish you could do a show just about that. I don't know.
It's expensive.
30 minutes or something. I think all of it.
It's expensive. We're trying to get the heck out of here. Claire and I have turned into Hawaiian sourdoughs. We're sour on Hawaii, but we don't have the dough to leave.
Oh, no. Where would you go if you guys were going to leave Hawaii?
Probably Indiana. We've got family there that we'd like to be close to.
Oh. So during the wintertime, it's just one nice great temperature all the way around the whole year?
Actually, it got very cold this last winter, where we had to just bundle up and get extra quilts on the bed and everything. It was chilly.
Oh, man. Well, grass is always greener on the other side. I was thinking about that every episode when it was cold over here, listening to your show. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, your previous caller, you mentioned fault lines. Have you ever talked to Lee Stranahan?
I don't think so.
Oh, man, you guys would be a really good team. I don't know, maybe you could do a collaboration or something. You just talk about so many of the same subjects. And he's on RT, and he's one of the few people that will tell the truth about just a lot of the stuff that's going on, especially with like how he called the Russia thing fake from a long time ago, just like a lot of other people, like Jimmy Dore and some other lefties. Well, I was thinking, like, if we have Trump, we have Trump, right? And look at the state of things. You have record high immigration, and this. I mean, it's so stupid. This guy, There's nothing he can do. What about E-Verify? What about shutting down the border? What about, I'm sure there's a million things he can do. What about these people in these departments? And Trump just goes on Twitter and oh, what's happening to me? I can't do anything. It's like, dude, you're the president. Why can't you just fire everybody in that department, put in your own people, and drain the swamp?
I agree.
All these departments, which you could do, which Obama did and other presidents did, and he can't do it. And this is the guy, the king of firing people, right? And he can't fire anybody. But who's controlling this guy? And then you see that just recently, right? He was saying, "Oh, I'm going to shut the border down. I'm so serious about this immigration thing." And that was like a month after he just gave a speech to what is that horrible Republican conference? Can't think of the name of it, but some kind of RNC convention or something.
Yeah.
And everyone's got these I think it's not even a joke. It was people were wearing "Make Israel Great Again" or something. It wasn't even satire. It was these hardcore Zionist people there. Anyways, at that speech, Trump was saying, "We're going to have the most immigration ever, but it's going to be legal immigration." And so this guy, and then he increased the H-1Bs from 30 to 90,000, and something I don't know, the biggest caravan ever is coming, and all this stuff, and he's helpless. He can't do anything, and the Democrats, and what's the other thing he says on Twitter? I mean, it is the problem of the Democrats, but it's not just that, because there are things he can do today, and he won't do it. And why won't he do it? He's
a weak leader.
Just incredibly.
He's a weak leader. I mean, that's the observation I have right now. His image as somebody who can fire somebody was crafted for his reality TV show, The Apprentice, but he's susceptible to flattery. He can be easily manipulated, and it's clear he is not a strong leader. He does not have the strength of his own convictions. He can be maneuvered and manipulated, and that is unfortunately just the way it is.
And so he's either just a complete liar, and he's totally incompetent, or he's being controlled. And I think they have something on him.
I think it's definitely the latter one. He's being controlled. He's being manipulated. Anyway, Eddie, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones here. Let's see. Dave in Delaware. Aloha, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Mike? Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Well, we're just doing what we do here, doing the radio show.
I hear you. I don't know, man. You look like you need a couple of days off, like take a week off or something, Mike. You look kind of tired,
Yeah, I
man.
probably do. I'm
serious.
just absolutely exhausted. What can I tell you?
I don't know, man. I guess you gotta keep it moving, but all right. I don't know. Hey, you ever heard of the application Shazam?
No.
It's an application on your phone you could download, and like when you hear a song, you can press the button, right? And then whatever
yes.
song is playing in the background,
Yes, I have seen
right?
that.
And you can listen to it. The song that played on the commercial before that I came back from break, it was the "We Will Not Go Down" in Gaza Tonight and all that. And then I kind of heard that. I Shazam that. It shows up pretty cool on YouTube. It's got a bunch of different videos with that song.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a cool video.
Yep. You check it out. You all right? You all right, Mike, though?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just tired. I'm just very tired.
All right, man. Well, all right. Well, okay. All right, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Al in New Jersey. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. Thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Yes, Al. Mike, listen, it's going to be a sacrifice, but I think you should just cut the show and go to bed. You look so bad, and it's hard looking at you.
Okay.
Well, anyway, get well.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hey, Al. Thank you. We love you.
Well,
bye-bye.
I love all of you too, and I'm sorry I'm not at my best right now. It's just, after a while, I am exhausted. I'm absolutely burned out on doing all of this. I've been doing the website for 25 years. I've been doing radio for 12 years. I'm not making any money at it, and I'm just very, very tired. I don't know. Maybe I should have Mike put on a best of, except we have a tentative third-hour guest, so I really don't want to stand them up. We'll get through one way or the other. What can I tell you? Okay, so over in Turkey, Vice President Mike Pence is once again doing the arm twist thing. He's threatening Turkey's future role in NATO, saying that if they go ahead with the purchase of the Russian-made S-400 air defense system, that Turkey's membership in NATO could be in jeopardy. You will buy American, even though it's more expensive and maybe not as good, but you will buy American. And it's getting really tense over there. I mean, the Pentagon has already halted deliveries of the F-35. And it's all about forcing Turkey to buy the American military weapons, even though Turkey doesn't want to buy the American military weapons. They want the weapons that are going to work. Okay, so article coming out of Russia Insider. Russia, China are turning the tables on U.S. strategy. Hybrid war, now anyone's game. And they're talking about Chinese nuclear bombers, Chinese hypersonic missiles, Chinese carrier killer missiles, Chinese cyber attacks, Chinese anti-satellite weapons, Chinese militarization of the South China Sea, Chinese Huawei spying, and we're not even talking about Russia. So there's a lot of hostility out there here. Okay, as you know, over this last weekend, they had the 1-year anniversary of the Great March of Return. A lot of people have been wounded. A lot of people have been killed. And it's kind of interesting looking at the corporate media that still refuses to look at the issue of Israel's treatment of the Palestinians and still try and spin it that somehow it is Hamas that is responsible for the blockade and the misery in the Gaza concentration camp. Oh, yeah, it's Hamas's fault. You know, if Hamas would just go along with what Israel wants, everything would be just fine. It's amazing how the prostitutes and the correspondents, you would think after this huge embarrassment over Russiagate that the prostitutes and correspondents and the corporate media might rethink their commitment to fairness and accuracy, but no, they're paid to lie. They're going to go online. That's basically what they're going to do here. Now, a little bit of good news. As part of the Egyptian-mediated efforts to ease the plight of Gaza Strip, Israel has extended the area where Palestinians are allowed to fish, and the boats are heading on out there into the deep Mediterranean for the first time in almost 2 decades, and the Palestinians are just overjoyed. Such a distance has been off limits, and they're hoping that there will be lots of fish to bring back in, deep water mackerel and tuna, to supplant the usual shallows fare of sardines, shrimp, and crab. All right, let's take a phone call. Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, Mike. How do you feel? You feeling better?
No, not really. I'm feeling kind of rode hard and put up wet.
You gotta drink a lot of tea with lemon. Listen, Mike, I'm calling because now that the Mueller report is out, I think Donald Trump should get back to basics. You know, peace by trade. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, I don't
get
think
back
so.
To basics, man.
Yeah, I don't think the whole report is out just yet. I know they're arguing for it to come out. But I think when it comes on out, it's going to be more damaging to the Democrats than to the Republicans.
Yeah, I know, but he has to get back to his original plan, peace by trade. He can't risk World War III, Mike.
No, you can't.
Yeah, so peace by trade. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Okay, here's an interesting development, and it validates something that we've been talking about for a lot of years. Okay? Over in Basel, Switzerland, there's an organization called the Anne Frank Fund, which controls the copyright to the Diary of Anne Frank. And they have now officially admitted that the diary was in fact at least co-authored by Otto Frank, Anne's father, after the war. And this basically proves that the book, which is still heavily promoted as a Holocaust memoir, is in fact largely a post-war fabrication, which contained parts of the young Anne's diary with extensive additions added by the father. There was also a third ghostwriter, and there was a lawsuit involved. And a lot of people had pointed out there were obviously 2 different handwritings there. There was a ballpoint pen being used, which was not available in Europe until after the war. It's a fake. It's a fraud. And everyone's required to read it in school and say, oh, let's feel bad for the Anne Frank. Let's hate the Nazis. Over at CNN, Alex Christoforou and editor-in-chief Alexander Mercouris basically discussed Fareed Zakaria's shocking opening statement during his broadcast, where the CNN news commentator openly tries to goad President Trump into launching an attack on Venezuela and the Russian presence within the Latin American country to send a message to Putin that the U.S. will do as it pleases when it comes to illegal regime change. I understand Alex Jones over on his show is arguing for pretty much the same thing. So Zachariah even cited Obama's Syria red line moment to draw parallels between Syria's failed regime change operation and Venezuela's ongoing but stalling overthrow of Maduro's elected government. Well, okay, Zach, here's your rifle. Here's your parachute. Here's your Dayglow orange jumpsuit left over from the CIA torture centers. Watch your head climbing into that transport plane, and we'll call Maduro and tell him you're on your way to whip his butt all by yourself. But we're going to sit this one out if you don't mind here. Over in Malaysia, the former Malaysian Prime Minister is about to go on trial, Najib Razak, regarding the corruption over the 1MDB scandal. And he's been arrested multiple times over the past year on charges related to 1MDB, a vast corruption scandal that saw billions of dollars embezzled from a Malaysian state fund set up by Najib. Now, apparently about $1 billion ended up in Najib's personal bank account. Najib is saying he has absolutely no knowledge of the multi-billion-dollar fraud. No idea of how that happened or where the money came from. Honest, just as clean as the driven snow. Really here. Over in Japan, they're getting ready for a change of emperors. On the 1st of May, the Crown Prince Akihito, who's known as Heisei, which is achieving peace, will make way for his eldest son, Crown Prince Naruhito, in Japan's first imperial abdication in more than 200 years. So they're going to have a change of emperors. Now, it's a ceremonial position. The emperor doesn't really have a lot of influence politically, but certainly he does spiritually. So it will be interesting to watch here. All right, let's talk about the economic news here. Usually around the middle of February every year, the U.S. Treasury Department releases an annual report of the federal government's financial condition. This year it was a little late, and the reason for that is probably because the news is very bad. The U.S. government's net worth is a negative $75 trillion. $75 trillion. They want you to come up with that, of course. You know, hey, we spent ourselves into bankruptcy here, but you American people, you just come up with it. We know you're generous, you love your country, you'll just come up with the money. Another little article, this one came out of uns.com, how military spending is decimating the middle class. And military spending is trying to sell itself to the American public by saying, well, look at all the jobs provided by the military, like the National Guard and military service. You know, it's good for the economy. Well, no, not really. Not really. Definitely not. Over at UBS, their CEO, Ermati, apparently knows something that the rest of us don't. Last week he tried to sell all of his UBS shares. It was blocked by regulators, but he did succeed in selling about 1 million shares. So Sergio Ermati is a mystery. The chief of UBS wanted to sell a big package with privately held stock in its bank, and he just wants to get on out. That's a bad, bad sign. Okay, Boots, which is a store, it's owned by Walgreens, and it's announced it suffered its most difficult quarter since its formation, and it's warning it could close shops and axe jobs after its parent company issued a shock profit warning. Basically, it said the company said 350 jobs were at risk at its Nottingham headquarters. So things are not going well at all. I keep hearing all this talk about how there is another recession coming. The indicators are all there, and nobody wants to do anything about it. Nobody's able to do anything about it. Story coming out of Investment Watch blog, the mega banks are telling the Securities and Exchange Commission that once again, derivatives could blow up Wall Street. Remember what happened back in 2008? Derivatives took down like Lehman Brothers. They're saying it's poised to happen again. Nobody did anything about the derivatives. They're still out there and they're still a problem. Okay. Apparently, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is saying that President Trump's administration is treating the illegal immigration crisis at the border as if it were a Cat 5 hurricane disaster and is bringing all the agencies together. We're asking everybody to chip in. Well, yeah, it is a major disaster, and it has to be treated as such. So Kirsten appeared on Tucker Carlson tonight, and Carlson pointed out that the entire populations from Latin America are now moving north. In February, authorities apprehended 76,000 illegal arrivals at the Mexican border. Last month, that number had ballooned to 100,000. It is totally out of control. We need a wall. We need the military. We'll be back after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And just getting on back to the news, we're talking about the immigration problem at the border. And I saw a video earlier today, and it was just these people at the border literally shoving small children through the fence without regard to who was going to take charge of them on the other side. And it's a case of, are these not the kids' parents? Do they not care for them? Were they just hired to get the kid up to the border and shove him through the fence? It is a mess, and something does have to be done. And Donald Trump does have to do something about it. Okay, now then, over in Great Britain, Theresa May is still out there showing her Remainer colors, trying to weaken Brexit even further. And she's angering a lot of people. A lot of people are calling for her to step down. So apparently, after chairing a marathon 7-hour cabinet session today, Prime Minister Theresa May announced her plan to water down Brexit by seeking agreement with Jeremy Corbyn's customs union backing Labour Party. And that would be a real kick in the teeth to the Conservative Party and the Brexiteers. Still trying to figure out a way to make it a Brexit in name only. And I got to tell you, I think the British people are about fed up with all of this nonsense. They voted to leave Europe. They want to leave Europe. And if the British government doesn't give them what they voted for, I think there will be yellow vests in the streets of London. Okay, apparently the leader of the English Democrats has launched a high court battle saying that in point of fact, Great Britain did leave the European Union on March 29th as originally planned, and saying that Prime Minister Theresa May's extension was not legally valid. So he's gone to court saying that we're out. Robin Tilbrook is out there saying, we're out. We're free from Europe. Let's just deal with the aftermath here. And I certainly hope he's right here. Okay, over in New Jersey, police arrested and charged 33-year-old Jorge Rios, an illegal alien from Honduras, for the murder of Carolina Cano, a 45-year-old nanny living in New Jersey. And apparently, Mr. Cano's roommate told police she went out for a jog at the nearby park, and her body was eventually discovered in a lake. So investigators are saying Carolina Cano was strangled, raped, and submerged in the lake. So how's that open borders thing working out for you there, people? Got to take a break here for station identification. We'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Little bit of a positive story here. Apparently, there was a woman with a 5-year-old daughter in the shopping mall at an Old Navy store in Barboursville, West Virginia. And apparently, this individual came up and grabbed the child by the hair, attempted to pull her away. The mother was carrying, pulled out her gun, and scared the assailant off, and he was later arrested. So it's another reminder that the only way that you scare off a bad person is a good person with a gun. And we all have a constitutional right to be armed in defense of ourselves against criminals. If you wait for the police, you're going to get hurt. It takes the police 20, 30 minutes to show up. All right. Now, back during the midterm elections, there was a spate of these phony explosive devices that were mailed around to various Democratic candidates to build sympathy for them. And it was obvious they were hoax devices. We looked at them. We took them apart here on the whatreallyhappened.com. And the guy that created them, Cesar Sayoc, okay. So Cesar Sayoc is out there saying that he told the government the devices would hurt people because his lawyer told him to say that. So let me say that one more time here, because apparently we had a dropout. Cesar Sayoc, the man who sent out these hoax bombs that were designed to help Democrats in the midterms, said that he only told the government the devices could hurt people because his lawyer instructed him to. I'm wondering what the lawyer was thinking, because obviously that's not a good way to get your client off. The best way to get your client off is for the client to say, they were hoax devices, they were never going to hurt anybody, I didn't mean any harm. And you're still going to do a little jail time, but not all that much. So why is this lawyer telling him the other way? Okay, over at Costco, they have now stopped carrying the Roundup weed killer after the second lawsuit against Monsanto was $80 million, second cancer case. So Costco's decided they don't want to carry Roundup because it is being declared a carcinogen. The World Health Organization has declared it a probable human carcinogen. The courts are now chiming in on it. The lawsuits are piling up. And I would say that Bayer probably right now has buyer's remorse over buying Monsanto. As well they should. Over in Great Britain, the schools are starting to remove the analog clocks from the walls, you know, the kind with hands on them, because apparently today's kids can't read them. They're not being taught how to read watch dials. They can read digital. We can all read digital here. But apparently the analog clocks are definitely going away. They are bye-bye. That's a shame. All right. Oh, excuse me. Neurologist Andrew Molden is actually out there, a very brilliant guy, and he showed how vaccines were responsible for causing microscopic strokes by limiting the flow of oxygen in the bloodstream reaching capillaries. Now, back in 2009, he did an interview on vaxtruth.com. He said, I've conclusively shown that all vaccines, from infancy to geriatric, are causing the exact same brain damages, irrespective of what disease or disorder comes out. The damages are specific to end vascular mini strokes. They're beneath the resolution of our neuroimaging, but measurable in a before-after vaccination protocol. Basically, what he's saying is that vaccinations are causing a great many diseases. They're not this miracle cure-all. They are, in fact, a problem. So, he says the evidence is now self-evident. All you have to do is receive the education you need to appreciate and see what is before your very eyes. Layperson and doctor, it is no longer an opinion, as I now have conclusive evidence to show all vaccines are causing the exact same damages for us all in the exact same manner that Wild Network. Okay, over in Italy, they just had the ultra-conservative World Congress of Families last Sunday, and participants in the city of Verona carried pink and blue balloons and placards with slogans saying, yes to life, not to an abortion. So there was this thousands of pro-life families march in Italy. Apparently, a few days before, leftists tried to disrupt the conference and shut it down, saying, you know, we demand abortion. We demand abortion. How dare you insist that babies be allowed to live? I have to tell you, in all honesty, that I have a serious problem with these laws that have come out that authorize abortion up to the moment of birth. I'm in agreement with that state that has what they call the heartbeat bill, which is that once a heartbeat is detectable, the baby cannot be aborted. I think that's a good compromise. But this idea of letting a baby go full term, 9 months, and be aborted at birth, I can't stomach that. It just makes me sick to think about that. Alrighty. Okay. Story coming out of Russia Insider by Pepe Escobar talking about how U.S. elites are trying to market a crumbling empire. And that's exactly what the problem is. The United States is a crumbling empire. It still has its allies that are bleeding it dry economically, like Israel. It still has its weapons, some of which work and some of which don't. But overall, the empire is crumbling, and we can see that looking at our infrastructure, looking at our manufacturing, looking at all the homeless people in the streets of America. You can't look at all the homelessness in this country and say that we're a healthy economy. You just can't. It's not possible. So the government is just sucking more money out of our pockets and spending it on more weapons, which aren't really working out all that well, like the F-22, still asphyxiating its pilots, F-35, huge laundry list of problems, the Gerald R. Ford, propulsion problems, the Zumwalt, propulsion problems, Freedom and Independence class littoral combat ships, drivetrain problems. It just goes on and on and on and on. We're an empire in decline. So basically, Pepe Escobar is saying a hefty case can be made that the empire of chaos currently has no allies. It's essentially surrounded by an assortment of vassals, puppets, and comprador fifth columnist elites professing varied degrees of sometimes reluctant obedience. And he describes the Trump's foreign policy as a crossover between The Sopranos and late night comedy. I think that's a good description. Except, of course, the people on the receiving end of those bombs aren't laughing. Elizabeth Warren has unveiled a bill to punish criminal CEOs. I think this is a good idea. And she's saying for far too long, CEOs of giant corporations that break the law have been able to walk away while consumers who are harmed are left picking up the pieces. She is absolutely right. CEOs that cheat working Americans should go to jail. We had that story yesterday about this explosion at a Chinese chemical plant, and the police arrested the executives and took them off to prison. That's how you deal with bad executives. And we need to do that here. Elizabeth Warren is right. We shouldn't have a system where executives who commit crimes are just allowed to walk away. Okay. Another article. This is from Investment Watch blog. Why it's important to bring the Clintons to justice. And it is important. And the article starts out, for a while we've been hearing predictions that the deep state will be dragged into military tribunals and meet their end at Gitmo. I've followed the stories and, like many, become frustrated. Well, been there, done that, didn't buy the t-shirt. I have been waiting 25 years, ever since 1994, when my career and life got ruined by the Clintons over the Vince Foster affair. I have been waiting for somebody in this government to stand up and say, it is time to do right. It is time for arrests. It is time for prison. And it hasn't happened. And so I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated. I'm angry. I'm angry that, you know, I tried to do what was right. See something, say something. We've all heard that phrase. And I saw something and I said something. My life got destroyed 25 years ago. And I'm very angry about it. And I don't apologize for being angry about it. And it's not like I'm asking anybody to make good on the loss, but I do want to see justice. I want to see the people who murdered Vincent Foster go to prison. I want to see the person who wrecked my life go to prison. Why is that too much to ask? Anyway, just do this here. And one more. I'm just answering email because people are sending me things. Okay, getting on back to the news. God, I have so much stuff in my email box. Nowhere near enough time. Okay. President Trump has now ordered a probe into how the Russian probe began. James Clapper is out there saying this was all Barack Obama's idea. And good that Clapper is talking. Good that Obama has been named. Good that Hillary's being named. Trump needs to put on those presidential brass knuckles and just really come on out swinging and say, how dare you try and stage a coup d'etat against me on the basis of false information. That's what he needs to do. Okay, we're going to take a phone call from Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
When you get home tonight, you better have some nice hot chicken soup and some colloidal silver.
Well, I'm already home and I've already been into the colloidal silver, but I'll definitely work on the chicken soup.
Hey, Mike, did you talk about the Chinese yesterday landing 2 planes in Venezuela with 125 troops and bringing aid and stuff?
No, I didn't. I talked about the Russians landing 2 planes.
Now the Chinese are there.
Okay, good for them.
The U.S. ain't going to really do anything. So that's 225 between the Russians and the Chinese troops. Go ahead and do something against them. If anything happens to those troops, that warrants a response. You know.
I would agree.
So, and Mike Pence with Turkey. All you have to do is look on a map. Not going to kick them out of NATO because you know what? Hey, Russia, how would you like this nice, beautiful, slightly used base in Surik?
Yeah.
You know? So, and you know, Turkey's a strategic location. You got the Bosphorus Straits. So Mike Pence is, even though he lost 2 of the cities, because the cities are more liberal anyway. Erdogan's, because, you know, that's more of a upper area. He always wins the outskirt areas, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like over here with the liberals controlling the cities, you know? But yeah, they're not going to kick Turkey out of NATO just because, like I said, so Erdogan has, a winning hand either way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, as we're all still talking about Mueller and bringing out the full report and all this other stuff, let me tell you, while there's no infrastructure work going on in this country, you got Daimler opening up a Mercedes plant in Moscow.
Yeah.
Where they're going to make thousands of cars a year. You got 560 miles of Nord Stream 2 pipeline laid already. That's 37% of the pipe. They got record profit for Gazprom. And then, Mike, I don't know if you heard about this. There's a bridge called the Tongjing Rail Bridge. They built 2,000 meters, and it's for the linking of Russia and China for the Belt and the Road with the Trans-Siberian Railroad.
Yep.
And it's going to have 2 billion tons of stuff every year.
Yep.
And that's all new. And we got nothing but rotting infrastructure, and nothing is being done because everybody is playing politics while this country's falling apart.
Yes. That's exactly. You're exactly right. That's what's going on here. The government takes our money, they give it to Israel, they give it to themselves, they give it to the war machine, and our roads and rails and bridges and dams are all collapsing.
And airports, Mike, I looked, the top 6 airports, state-of-the-art, are all in Asia.
Yes.
We're number 32, and that would be Denver International, which is new. But everything else is rotting. It's just old. You know, and like I said, nothing's being done. And I don't think anything's going to be done, Mike, at this point. You know, I just don't see it, you know. And talking about Trump's another day, but Mike, have a good rest of the show. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, thanks an awful lot. I appreciate it. Not doing too well here. Yeah, our country's falling apart. Our government has spent this nation into bankruptcy paying for all these wars, and now they can't get out. And so their only solution is to keep on spending for the wars, going deeper into debt, putting you deeper into debt. And meanwhile, the nation itself is being basically crumbling apart. You know, the roads, the rails, the bridges, the dams. I mean, it's like in the Midwest where all that massive flooding is going on because they weren't maintaining the levees. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And let's see. Let's take a look here. Article coming out of Russia Insider. No more war guarantees. Trump must close NATO to new members. And it's basically saying that when Trump meets with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, that Trump should say NATO membership is closed for good. The United States will not hand out any more war guarantees to fight Russia to secure borders deep in Eastern Europe when our own southern border is bleeding profusely. I think that makes a great point. Why is the United States committed to border security all over Europe, but not to the south? Can anybody explain that to me? Anybody at all? Bueller? There are so many things that our government does that just do not make sense. And again, I'm glad that Trump survived the Russian collusion investigation because it was an obvious coup d'etat. But I am very disappointed in him in terms of his failure to keep pretty much all of the promises he made during the campaign. Hillary is still not in jail. The border is still hemorrhaging illegals. We're still mired in all of these wars all over the world. The economy is not doing well, despite what the corporate media will tell you. Our election system is still crooked. And our vaccines are still unsafe. So, where are you, Don? What are you going to be campaigning on in 2020? Okay, the chairman of the Russian Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Konstantin Kosachev, believes that everything that is happening in Ukraine, Syria, and Venezuela is a result of the confrontation between the unipolar and the multipolar world concepts. In other words, the United States was trying to establish a unipolar world order, saying, we're the sole remaining superpower, let's act like it. That's what they were saying back in the 1990s for the Project for the New American Century. But there is a multipolar world emerging again with Russia and China. And it's not just the United States. So this Senator Kosachev recalled the events in the former Yugoslavia, Iraq, and Libya, and stressed that the inability to influence what happened in those countries led to an increase in the appetite of those who have imposed forced solutions to other countries. Gee, I wonder who they're talking about. So he's basically saying that, yeah, a big part of what's going on right now is the United States still trying to impose a unipolar world order and deny a multipolar world order to China and Russia. Okay, over in Miami yesterday morning, there were F-15 fighter jets streaking across the sky, and it was a training exercise conducted by NORAD. and it rattled a lot of people. It made them very upset. It's called Operation Noble Eagle. It's the name given to the military response following the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. And so NORAD basically came out on the media and said it was just an exercise and nothing to worry about. Here on Oahu, we get military aircraft overhead all the time. It's just a constant, ongoing situation, and it, along with the siren tests, it's a problem. Okay, a lot more information is coming on out regarding that strange raid to the North Korean embassy in Madrid. And apparently the defector group, they call themselves Free Joseon, which stands for Free North Korea. And they're proclaiming their success at infiltrating a North Korean diplomatic mission and handing the information over to the FBI. So apparently they made off with computers, cell phones, and other equipment, then flew to the United States, where the group's leader shared information with the FBI, from which I would say that probably this was a covert FBI operation, even though they're not supposed to work outside the country. That's normally CIA's turf. But you know, the CIA and the slide, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones to Bob from the Upper Peninsula. Aloha, Bob. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, 33 degrees, global warming, and a little bit of snow. I don't get why everybody in the government or on the media thinks that Russia is such a threat, because actually Russia has never attacked anybody in the last 200 years. Have you seen? The only time that there were any significant wars is when Napoleon went in, and he did go to the Kremlin, put his feet up on the desk, and was kicked out shortly afterwards, and Hitler after that.
Yeah, Russia was on our side for that last one. But, you know, it doesn't matter if Russia has done something or not. They are to be declared the enemy in order to support the military-industrial complex and scare the American people into...
Yeah, for God's sakes. I mean, the Russian people, they have a culture that's been there for 2 millenniums, 2,000 years. And they don't go and mess with anybody. The only time there's a problem is when we, the Western cultures, go and mess with them.
Well, there was a little bit of a skirmish between Russia and Japan leading up to World War II. But you're absolutely right. Russia has done absolutely nothing to us in terms of a military threat. The threat is actually economic in nature. Russia is engaging in peace through commerce. They're making deals. They're selling weapons. They're building pipelines. China is building the One Belt, One Road. All of these are threats to American corporations. And because these corporations are feeling threatened, they just sort of expect that we, the American people, should say, oh, my goodness, bad Russia, bad China. Here, take my money, take my children, and go off and do mayhem.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Americans understand the Russian culture. I am one of them. I mean, we've done it like for 2,000 years, and we've made our own way in this world, and we feed our own people. Like my father often said, in the 60s, at the worst, that you never see a skinny Russian. They're all fat and well-fed, you know.
Yep. No,
and a nice fur coat on, too. I wish you would come back to the States, Michael, and see how it is.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. It's going to cost us about $20,000 to move all of our stuff back there. And that's even after having one horrific yard sale where we're going to have to let all kinds of things go, like, you know, the drone over here and, you know, my metal detector and all that other stuff. We're just going to be taking Claire's musical instruments and our computers and some of our furniture, not all of it, but it's still going to cost us about $20,000 to get back there and get established in a new home. We want to do it. We're tired of Hawaii. You know, you've seen One String Bikini, you've seen them all, and I've seen them all.
Well, if you can stand a winter, you're welcome back here, Michael, and I will pay your way.
Well,
UP of Michigan.
I appreciate that. We're aiming for Indiana because we have family there that is going to help us basically land. And basically there's some little kids that we want to watch growing up.
Perfect. Have a good day, sir.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Stuart in Miami. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, just a quick update on those, what do you say, F-15s? There's a big annual music festival in Miami that just ended on the weekend.
Yep.
And on Sunday, that's exactly what I saw. One of those flying right around the big festival. It's a big electronic, it's called Ultra. It's a big electronic music festival. And sure enough, that's where I saw it, yeah, on Sunday.
Well, the F-15's a good little bird, and you know, it's unfortunately, like most of our other military hardware, it spends a lot of its time as a hangar queen. But you know, it's a nice little bird. Of course, like I said, here in Oahu, we've got the highest per capita density of military bases of any state in the Union, and there's always something flying overhead or out in the harbor or on the roads, just chugging along here and reminding us how close we are to war.
Yeah. You know, one other thing, I'll let you go, is a couple of days before that, for the first time, I saw a military ship in the port of Miami. Didn't have any guns on it, but it was battleship gray, and it was kind of at dusk, a little bit dark. But there was no guns on it, so I don't know. You know, could be nothing, but you know, another piece of the puzzle.
Well, could be, you know, a cargo transport, troop transport. Could be a well, I don't know about a littoral combat ship. They do have guns on there, but there are lots of Navy ships that don't actually have much in the way of armament because they are not meant to go into combat.
Yeah. And one other thing, let me just say in closing that your show is not getting stale. You know, the only thing that makes your show stale is when you let a couple of people like today stay on the line too long, or just you know, you're part of my expression, clowns. And other than that, I wish you a good show.
Well, thank you very much, Stuart. I appreciate that. We're going to let you go, and the phone lines are now open. And I'm going to apologize. I know I'm not at my best today because I'm just not feeling well. But I had to make a choice whether I was going to try and tough through the show today or just give you another replay. And I decided against the replay because I've already done that once this week. Okay, interesting little story here. This is coming out of the American Conservative. And apparently it has to do with this autistic teenage boy, and he was convinced that he wanted to be a girl, and the doctors were going to give him these hormone drugs to help him change sex. Now, just to clarify things, when you are given the hormones, it doesn't change your sex. It gives you the new sexual characteristics, but your sex is determined in your DNA. And there is no medication that can change that. But anyway, the parents were concerned. They thought that he had been talked into this. And apparently the parents were warned that if they didn't let him go ahead with the procedure, that he would be taken away from them and put into foster care, with somebody that was going to basically allow him to change gender. Apparently, they're saying it is now a form of child abuse for parents to not allow gender transition for children. That's basically what they're saying. Okay, out in California, there's been this recent federal court ruling striking down as unconstitutional a California law limiting gun magazines to 10 rounds, and to nobody's surprise, gun supply retailers are flooding California with 30-round magazines, and people are just buying them up as fast as they can. So apparently one of the manufacturers, Rainier Arms, has seen purchases of its Magpul Gen 2 30-round AR-15 style magazines soar to the point that the sales payment processing server actually crashed. So arm up, California. Absolutely arm up. And I'm not encouraging violence. I don't want to see a civil war or a revolution in the streets of America. But on the other hand, I'm very much in favor of Americans being able to deter criminals, both civilian and governmental, and just say, leave us alone. That's all we're saying. Leave us alone. That's all we want. All right, you've probably heard of Poland Spring Water, and they're now being hit with a class action lawsuit because Poland Spring Water does not come from a spring. It comes from wells, and they're being hit with false advertising. And apparently there are 8 states involved in this lawsuit: Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. So you got to be careful what you put on that label there. You really, really do. Okay. Apple is having problems with the new iPad Pro. And apparently users are reporting a stuttering screen and unresponsive keys. So apparently Apple has apologized for the MacBook's lingering butterfly keyboard problems. They're now facing a growing number of complaints about the soft keyboard and the screen on its premium iPad Pro tablets. Now these are pricey. They're like $1,700. And you would think that maybe somebody would make sure that they're going to work. Now, I have an iPad. I don't even remember what version it is, but it works just fine. But it's not an iPad Pro. Okay, over at the University of Louisville, a professor is suing his employer after being fired from a top position for expressing views on gender dysphoria and saying children who insist they are transgender should not instantly be believed. Dr. Alan M. Josephson was formerly the head of the school's Division of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and Psychology, but was demoted to a junior faculty position after university activists sounded the alarm over views he expressed during a 2017 panel discussion on gender dysphoria in children. And in February, the university decided not to renew his contract. Now, Josephson's lawsuit alleges that activists and a few of his colleagues demanded that he be disciplined for the comments that had troubled him. In other words, they wanted him punished for saying things they didn't like. such as that maybe children were being brainwashed into saying they're transgender. And that's a big problem we're getting with the left, this desire to punish people who say bad things. Again, you can't have freedom of speech and an offensive-free environment. The two don't go together. So decide right now which it is that you want. Do you want freedom of speech, or do you want an offense-free environment? Because you're only going to get one. Me, I'm in favor of freedom of speech. And if you don't like what I'm saying, too bad. Okay, now Nipsey Hussle was a rapper, and apparently he was producing an investigative documentary into the life and death of Dr. Sebi, the legendary holistic doctor who died under suspicious circumstances in 2016 after making a lot of enemies in the world of big pharma. Nipsey was getting ready to make this documentary. He himself has been shot dead in Los Angeles at the age of 33. Makes you kind of wonder what's going on there with all these strange deaths of holistic doctors and natural healers, and even those who want to make movies about natural healers. Okay, story that came on out from space.com, and they're basically talking about simulations of what happened during India's anti-satellite missile test. And a lot of people were very concerned about it because there's a lot of debris still up there. And apparently India's test was a head-on hit. The satellite was coming up from the south, moving north. India launched their anti-satellite weapon from the north, heading south, and hit the satellite head-on. India is saying that the debris is going to fall out of orbit within the next 2 weeks. NORAD is not so sure. And I was out there this morning looking to see if anything came down. I couldn't see anything. But they basically, this website, space.com, put together a simulation showing what the event looked like and where the debris may have gone. And apparently India did block off part of the Indian Ocean for safety's sake during this test. I'm very concerned, obviously, about near-orbital warfare and how dangerous it can go. Okay, let's get on to some news here. A lot of people are still talking about how The Intercept has shut down their Edward Snowden archive. They're claiming it's too expensive for them to maintain, and they couldn't find the right partner, but they're closing it down. And I certainly hope other people have made their own copies of the archive, because that information should not be taken offline. We have to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones to Steve in Manhattan. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. How are you? I remember when I was 13 years old, I went to Hawaii for vacation in the 90s, and it was a shock. I saw virtually every female on the beach was wearing a thong.
Yes.
That was quite amazing.
Yes.
They don't have that on the East Coast. It wasn't like that. Anyway, and let's go to the topic of the. We'll talk about this like chatter on the conspiracy network on the internet about there's a Bruder film being faked and JFK still being alive. What's your opinion on that?
No, I'm afraid that John F. Kennedy is very much dead, and he was killed in Dealey Plaza. And, you know, the CIA tried to throw out a lot of nonsense to try and keep people from sort of figuring out that there was more to the story than Lee Harvey Oswald. In fact, the CIA came up with the phrase conspiracy theorists to try and discredit those who were basically saying, no, there's something not right about the story. There were a whole bunch of witnesses who got killed off in the months that followed the assassination, including Dorothy Kilgallen and her partner. It was an ugly, ugly situation. But today we know better. We know that our government does assassinate people.
But the reason why I say it, because there's a video of Jacqueline Kennedy after the assassination not wearing the pink dress after the assassination. It was a different dress. So the video, the Zapruder film had her wearing a different outfit than another film from another film showed after the assassination. She's wearing a different dress. So she's not wearing the same dress that was on the Zapruder film.
Well, the pink dress covered with John F. Kennedy's blood, she wore it, obviously, in the motorcade. She wore it on the flight back to Washington, D.C. Apparently, she wore it into a meeting with the Washington Post's editors. And if she changed it after that, that's when that video had to have been made.
Right, because I think that it's a possibility, because I heard from different sources from the Illuminati that actually there's still people alive from the 1700s.
I wish, I'm 66, coming up on 67, and, believe me, I can tell you I'm feeling the effects of age. I would love to have the secret of how I could live for 300 years.
Because I heard someone told me, some woman, she told me that Abraham Lincoln faked his death and is still alive today.
Really? Did you know that the word gullible is not in the dictionary?
Well, it's I'm just saying what people are saying. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying the chatter out there.
Steve,
people say lots of things.
Steve, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. I enjoyed the laugh. We're going to let you go here. We're coming up here on the top of the hour and our station break. So, in fact, there's the music right now. We'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And we were supposed to be spending this hour with Marianne Azizi, but apparently we have had some technical issues. We can't connect with her. So hopefully she's going to be here with us tomorrow talking about some politics and corruption going on over in Israel. So anyway, getting on back to the news here. And by the way, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Over in Chicago, they just had an election, and Lori Lightfoot won the mayorship of the city. She's the city's first black female gay mayor. And her commanding victory capped a grueling campaign in which Lightfoot defeated more than a dozen challengers to win her elected office. Okay, let's clear that up here a little bit. Over in Korea, they're still talking about trying to put together some kind of a deal. Now, the North Koreans are very put off by the U.S. heavy-handed approach to the negotiations, which tends to be, you give us what we want, then maybe we'll do something nice for you, which is a bad habit they've picked up from hanging around Israel too long, and it doesn't really work all that well. But apparently there is still progress being made. Apparently Donald Trump, during his last meeting with Kim Jong-un, passed him a little note that basically said the deal would be that North Korea would surrender all of its nuclear weapons to the United States. That apparently was the point at which that Kim Jong-un walked on out. But they're back to talking about on-site inspections and the possibility of a UN nuclear watchdog group, the IAEA, being in North Korea within weeks of just a deal. Okay, let's take some phone calls here. Joe in Pennsylvania. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
You have a great show. Thanks for taking my call. I'm always impressed with how knowledgeable your callers are. I do not believe that John Hinckley Jr. shot Ronald Reagan. Am I a kook?
No, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion on that. I mean, I think there was more to it than just Hinckley, especially when you consider that the Hinckleys were close family friends with the Bushes.
Okay, now, when Brady died, no one brought up, this is where I think you'd be a lot more knowledgeable than me. When Brady died, no one, as far as I know, no one brought up the subject of Hinckley being charged with murder. Or did they? As far as I know, they didn't.
They didn't. They should have.
Okay, well, now, I'm in my mind, that was George Herbert Walker Bush saying to the whole world, you should be suspecting me, and what are you going to do about it? And the answer is nothing.
Well, you know, we went through the same thing with the Clintons and Vince Foster back in 1994.
Yeah, okay, but... Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. I thought you would have more knowledge than I do about George Herbert Walker Bush. Now, in my mind, he was behind it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely cause to suspect it, that he wanted to be in the Oval Office, and he was impatient, and as vice president, he would have been promoted had Hinckley succeeded in killing Reagan. But the assassination attempt failed, and Reagan recovered and went back into the White House. But eventually, George Herbert Walker Bush did, in fact, become president of the United States of America. But I do think there is cause to think that Hinckley assassination was an attempt by Bush to sort of jumpstart the process, if you will.
Okay, Hinckley had a pistol that shot 5 rounds. He shot all 5 rounds. None of them hit Reagan, according to what E. Howard Hunt's kid, St. John Hunt, wrote.
Well, obviously something hit Reagan because he had to have the surgery.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
But it wasn't John Hinckley.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to let you go. Switch over to Don in the Philippines. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. You mentioned that James Clapper said that Obama was behind the whole thing, ordered the investigation. But you have to realize that James Clapper has been a professional liar his whole life, so you really can't believe James Clapper. I mean, it's possible that he told the truth in this one by accident this one time, but
I tend to think that, yes, it is the truth here because, if you look at all the government agencies that were involved in the spying operation on Donald Trump, Obama was trying to help out Hillary Clinton. He wanted her to basically win the election and succeed him in the White House. And, who but Obama was able to basically get the Department of Justice and the FBI and the FISA court and all these other groups to go along with this?
Yeah, I mean, somebody was probably telling him what to do, I'm thinking. But anyway, one thing that people are not focused on is everybody's saying, well, it was terrible that they did all these bad things to Trump on this Mueller investigation, but they were never going to actually get Trump because Trump didn't do anything. There's no way they're ever, and that's what happened. 2 years went by and they didn't find anything on Donald Trump.
No, they didn't.
What the other effect that this thing had was Trump had to start getting tough with Russia, whereas in the beginning when he got elected, a lot of people were thinking, hey, he's going to be friends with Putin. They like each other, which I think he probably did, and he probably would have been friends with Putin if this whole thing wouldn't have started. So that was the net effect of it was making us a lot more enemies with Russia.
Yeah, that's unfortunately definitely an aspect that our relations with Russia have deteriorated tremendously because of this hoax.
And, I think that even now, even after we've let it slide, our only choice is to face reality. Instead of facing reality, he's hiring people like Elliot Abrams, who is just a retread from the 1980s, trying to use the old CIA plans from way back when. And the only thing they can possibly do is to shake hands with Putin, and maybe we ought to buy those S-400s ourselves since they're obviously the superior weapons, and just face reality. We can't beat Russia. We can't even beat Iraq. We can't beat Syria. We can't beat anybody, can we? We can't beat anybody, Mike.
No, we're not doing very well. I mean, and we're talking about, a first world nation going up against nations that do not have really well developed military, like Afghanistan, or Syria, or for that matter, Libya. And even with all of the money that we've spent on our military, we're just not doing all that well. And I think that is a warning against us going in and thinking that we can take on Russia and China.
We can't beat Russia and China. If we can't beat them, join them. That's what I say, Mike. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open again. We're going to do a shout-out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And, yeah, that's a real concern. We have all these people saying, oh, we're going to go to war. We're going to go war against Russia and China, and we're going to beat all these people. Can we actually do it? I don't think so. And I think we ought to be extraordinarily cautious before we get in there. Okay. Apparently, a lot of banks are telling the Securities and Exchange Commission that derivatives could once again blow up Wall Street. Now, if you remember back in 2008, with the mortgage-backed security fraud meltdown, what really caused the most damage were the derivatives. That's what took out Lehman Brothers. That's what almost destroyed AIG. They had sold these derivatives. And derivatives are great at making money when the economy is going up, and they can turn on you and be an absolute disaster when the economy goes the other way. And so we have these banks that are sounding the alarm, saying that, yeah, the economy appears to be heading into a recession, and the derivatives could become yet another major problem. Okay. Over in Iran, they are having major floods, just like we are having in our Midwest. And Iran is claiming that U.S. sanctions are blocking humanitarian aid from getting in there. And Mike Pompeo was saying, well, that's ridiculous. That Iran is blaming outside entities. And he says Iran is fully to blame for this disaster. Well, I don't know. Frankly, I feel bad for the Iranians. We've got major problems with our floods as well. All right, back to the phones. Mark in Philadelphia, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Okay, great. So on this subject of the military-industrial complex, I say that it has been infiltrated. It has been infiltrated, and there are persons of from a certain place who are in positions of power and control and gatekeeping. And I say they're taking us down from within, and it's affecting our readiness, our leading edge technologies. And one example of that is the F-35, as I've brought up to you before.
Yeah.
So I think that the subcontractors to the government have been infiltrated, and meanwhile, while they're lowering our readiness, our leading edge capability, they're also looting us.
Yes.
Okay. Looting. Okay. You remember that back in the day of the $600 hammer?
Yes.
For the toilet seat or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, I also want to share something else with you. This is just from G. Edward Griffin's email we get every day about. This is about the I thought the H-1B visa program was bad in and of itself, but there's also another one called H-2B visa program. I don't know. Had you heard of that one?
Yes.
Okay. So it says here, In 2017, President Trump signed the Buy American and Hire American executive order to protect American workers from shrinking employment opportunities due to immigration. However, instead of reforming the guest worker system, Trump has increased the H-2B worker program to admit 30,000 more foreign workers for a total of $96,000 this year, 2019. Employers favor the H-2B program because they can pay the foreign workers much less than the American counterparts, which is a boon for investors, but is a raw deal for American workers. The expanding guest worker program is destructive and unnecessary because it prevents Americans from filling the jobs and securing meaningful employment that could transform their lives. Now, on that note, I'd like to ask the question: is it possible that there are subcontractors to the government who have deals with the federal government and then are in turn hiring these immigrants from, like, let's see, India? Oh yeah, India. That's right, India and maybe China to do the work that we Americans could do, and so they're really making a lot of cake on that one. You know, they've already got the contracts secured, and then they make their profit margin expands by hiring more and more of these immigrants that are replacing us. I don't know. I'm offended by that. I really am offended.
I am too, but you know, the problem is a little more complex than just having the H-1B or H-2B visas out there. Part of the problem has been the failure of America's educational system, in which our young people coming out of colleges don't have the skills needed to enter these high-tech jobs. They're victims of Common Core. They're victims of liberal indoctrination. And these young people coming in on these H-1B and H-2B visas have the necessary skills. They're trained up on the high tech, and that's why they're desired by these high tech industries. It's not just the fact that they're willing to accept less payment. It's the fact that they know how to do the job, and our kids don't. And that is really where the big problem lies. We've got to overhaul education. We've got to get this focus away from art history major and women's studies and trans studies and get back to science, engineering, mathematics, and just again.
Okay, so that's been influenced. We've been influenced by that, by the do-gooders on high, or the no better than the rest of us on high, who then design these programs to steer these kids into, you know, the college degrees don't mean a darn thing, and away from the vocational, vo-tech type industries that we really need. So, but I'm gonna differ with you on this. Okay, we got a lot of veterans coming out of the military who are trained in electronics and high technical stuff. So I'm going to tell you, I'll bet you that some of these jobs are taken by, some of the jobs that the veterans could get when they come out of the service are taken by these immigrants. I'm still offended, and I'm not buying the deal that we don't have enough people that are smart enough, because we are smart enough. We are smart enough, and we should be saying not no, but hell no. Go back to your own country. Take care of your caste system, India. That you know, they're such great people, right? Take care of your caste system. You got the caste system. If they were such a great culture, what is up with that caste system, where once you're born into poverty, you're never getting out, and the higher ups are better than the lower people in the lower caste? That's been going on for a long time, and I don't see any changes there. But so I'm going to differ with you on that, Mike. That I think that we have enough skilled workers to take the jobs. Because I just can't buy that.
We're not differing. I'm in agreement with you that these jobs should be going to American people who are adequately trained. And as you point out correctly, people coming out of the military, they do have the skill sets. And I understand corporations want to have lower paid employees. Well, tough. Because if you are paying your employees less money, they have less money to spend at the shopping malls making the products that you are manufacturing. And we seem to have forgotten that very simple wisdom that a healthy consumer economy begins with well-paid workers.
Well, and so on. And on this note, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that on this subject as well, we have been infiltrated, and they're lobbying to get the H-1B visa expanded, and the H-2B visa expanded. Who's doing that? These corporations that are being controlled by infiltrators who want to take us down. They're taking us down for our work capacity, our skill sets, and destroying our economic. Our ability to sustain our own families and communities. See, by bringing in the foreigners, just bring them in and destroy us, implode us from within. It's an implosion. It's been going on for a while, and now they're really bringing it on. So anyway, that's the point. So thanks for sharing that with your greater audience, and please let's tell them hell no more.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think we need to talk about infiltrators. I think it's just a matter of simple greed. Looking at the bottom line and saying, if we can get, the president to authorize more of these H-1B, H-2B visas, then we can get the work done for less money and our profits go up. All right, we're going to switch over to Alan in Iowa. Aloha, Alan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, Mike, how you doing? I was shocked. I watched a video called Europa, the Final Battle, and this might even answer the previous guy's concerns, but if that's true, then the whole plan was laid out so long ago that it's just like, wow, we're living it now, and it was just, to me, like, the stuff that was planned out and done to us has been done by a small group of people that just boggles my mind they were able to get away with it.
Okay, Alan, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We got to take a commercial break, and I'll come right back to you after these words from our sponsors. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Alan in Iowa, and during the commercial break, I was taking a look at Europa, The Last Battle, and I noticed that YouTube had a disclaimer on it. This may be offensive to you. So, of course, I hit that button. Heck, yes. Offend me, please. And apparently, it has been taken down and put back up and taken down and put back up. So, definitely something that needs to be looked at. And they've disabled features like sharing. So, it's obviously made a lot of people very unhappy.
And it's actually called the Final Battle, not the Last Battle. But, it goes through the history and these people that spell out, like 100 years ago, exactly what they're going to do, like meld everyone together. And it's just amazing. And your jaw will drop if you it's actually a 10-part series.
Yes.
And I'm only on a couple parts already, and I'm just, like, my jaw is dropping, especially with the Soviet Red Purge of how they orchestrated that whole thing. And the poor, you got to feel sorry for the people of Russia. What they did to those people is just amazing. Like 10-year-old girls sent to the gulag.
Yep.
Because, it just makes you really sorry for what's going on.
Yep. There's a lot of evil in the world.
But it's all done by just a small group of people who are in charge and I don't know if they're super smart or where they get their power from, but it just seems like they're able to do this to everyone and how they do it without everyone fighting back or doing whatever to get, not let that happen to them. I don't know, especially when you look at the Red Purge that they did through Russia, and that's coming here too, people. So you better watch that video and you'll figure out what's coming our way.
Well, unfortunately, the vast majority of people are willing to be led. They're willing to follow a leader, even a bad one. And that, I think, is one of the great failings of the human race, in that the people who assume those leadership roles tend to be not very nice people. There's sociopaths, psychopaths, and we just follow along and just say, yes, tell us who to kill and when, and it's not a good idea.
I agree. And Mike, I just can't help but wonder if they're just not I don't think Donald Trump is doing anything for us. I honestly believe he's bought and paid for. I think they're trying to mesh us all together so they can kill the power grid and just let us all fight it out. That's my idea of what's going on.
Well, I certainly see an intent to get the Christians and the Muslims fighting each other, but I don't think that's coming down from Donald Trump. I think that's coming from Israel. But our civilization is being intentionally fractured to keep us under control. Black against white, women against men, gay against straight, trans against whatever we are. And just, again, to keep us fighting with each other and not uniting together as a single American people to deal with America's problems.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're in for a couple rough years here. I really, really do. I think people need to be prepared, and they need to be keeping an eye out for what's coming, because I think it could happen any day, and people's jaws are just going to drop when it does happen, because they're just not going to be ready for it.
I agree. In fact, in my opinion, it's overdue. It's absolutely overdue.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's always, and I just want to tell everybody out there that Mike is one of the beacons left. I mean, so many other people have been, like, gone or thing. When my income tax refund comes, Mike expected some money from me and Republic Broadcasting. So I just want to let everyone know that, you get your refund, throw a little bit Mike's way and Republic Broadcasting's way, and, keep these guys on the air, because without them, we wouldn't know what's going on at all.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I do appreciate them, and thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open now. And getting on back to the news here. Down in Miami, there is a young lady, Jenny Ambula. She's 26 years old. She was born in Colombia, and she was just living in this lavish lifestyle, posting pictures of herself in an expensive car, luxury vacations on Facebook and Instagram. She was a social media influencer, and it turns out that she probably shouldn't have done that, because an investigation into Colombia basically said that she's been running a money laundering operation, and that's where all of her wealth came from. We got to take a break here for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And here's an interesting illustration of just how all this transgender nonsense is really spinning out of control, because apparently there was this law passed to protect women against domestic violence, but now it's basically being used to force shelters to house transgender men, which I'm sure is making some of the women, at least, a little bit nervous. But this whole gender identity, and again, it's just another way to keep us divided against each other, to keep us unsure about who we are, to just keep us so messed up that we don't stand up and say, I am part of the American people, and I can see what's wrong with America today. All righty. Let's see. Apparently, over in Malaysia, the former Prime Minister Najib Razak is finally having his day in court after a 2-month delay. And this has to do with the 1MDB scandal. And apparently during Najib's tenure, billions were spent around the globe on everything from Manhattan real estate to hotels to yachts. And, of course, Najib has said he's got no knowledge of where all this money came from or went. Just, who knows? No idea, whatever. Okay, there's been a pro-family march in Italy. Apparently, leftists tried to disrupt the conferences. That didn't really work on out. I think I mentioned this before, but Elizabeth Warren is coming out with legislation to throw corporate CEOs in prison when they break the law, and I think that's a really wonderful idea. Okay. Right, let's see. We already talked about NATO, new members, the price the world pays for a failing unipolar system. All right, apparently Elizabeth Warren is now out there calling Donald Trump a threat to national security. And I'm not exactly sure why. But apparently that's her concern now, is that Trump is a threat to the national security. Okay. Donald Trump is still talking about closing the border, and he wants to close it not just to immigrants, but to all trade, as a way of convincing Mexico to take responsibility for their failure to control the immigration situation. Now, Mexico has got strict immigration laws. They should be enforcing them. They have an amazing fence across their southern border, but the immigrants are just marching on through, and they're being bussed up to the North American border, northern Mexican border, and just escorted across the fence. And Trump is saying, don't do that. Now, he's getting a pushback from American corporations who are saying that stopping trade with Mexico will be economically harmful. For example, after about 3 weeks, there won't be any more avocados in the store. Well, that's the whole point of threatening to close the border, to basically say, either you work with us on controlling immigration or your economies are going to be harmed. And these American corporations that are out there saying, please leave the borders open, we need the avocados, they're missing the big picture as to what's going on here. A lot of people still talking about Joe Biden. It's going back and forth. His latest defender is Whoopi Goldberg, saying he's fine the way he is. And in another age, it would have been fine. These little demonstrations of affection would not have been considered offensive. You know, just touching a shoulder or kissing a forehead or smelling hair. You know, when I was a kid, this was stuff that was considered acceptable behavior. But somebody's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill regarding Joe Biden. Now, I'm not a big Joe Biden fan, but I do feel that this is being blown up inappropriately. And that we need to be very, very careful that we don't get caught up in somebody's political campaign to get Joe Biden out of the race before we get to 2020. Okay. Apparently Facebook is in trouble. When you sign up for a new profile page, they demand access to your email passwords. I don't know why, but they do, and a lot of people are now criticizing Facebook for that. Okay. Over at the Council on Foreign Relations, they had a forum about fake news. The former editor at Time magazine, Richard Stengel, directly stated that he supported the use of propaganda on American citizens. Yeah, lie to them. That's, you know, that's what we're here for. That's what we get paid to do. That's what they're there for. Okay. Somebody just sent a statement about James Brady's death. And, Hinckley should have been charged with murder for that. Apparently, the Democrats are out there screaming for the full unredacted Mueller report. The pressure is building up on Attorney General William Barr. Apparently, the Democrats want to subpoena it now. This could blow up in their face. And I know part of it is they can't let go. They're desperate to believe there is something in there that will be the smoking gun with which they can bring down Donald Trump. But there could also be stuff in there that brings down some Democrats. Barr, in his summary memo, had made oblique references to criminal referrals against Democratic operatives. And I think he meant it. Okay, we already talked about Costco dropping the Roundup weed killer here. And more people are expressing concern over the death of the mom and pop businesses in our economy. And the reason for that is simple. If you have a big box store like a Walmart or Sam's Club, it comes into your community, they set up shop, the mom and pop businesses are driven out of business. Well, it's all well and good. Everybody's still buying what they need at the big box store. What happens when the big box store fails? All of a sudden, your community is without anything at all. There's going to be a scramble to try and get those mom and pop businesses back. And maybe mom and pop aren't going to be interested in doing that a second time. We're actually dealing with that a lot out here in Hawaii, where we've had, like Toys R Us is gone. Sears is getting ready to go. Macy's is getting ready to go. And we're looking around and saying, where are we going to buy what we need? So it is a bit of a problem here. Okay, apparently James Comey is out there trying to retroactively justify why he didn't indict Hillary Clinton for those top secret emails. He must be feeling a little bit nervous about that. And, pardon me, apparently the Border Patrol agents are expanding the catch and release practice because of the flood of illegal immigrants and a lack of action from Congress. They don't have money, they don't have facilities, they're grabbing these people, they're taking their names down, and then they just release them into the general population, where they can do whatever they feel like doing, like MS-13 stuff. Okay. Alrighty, let's see. Tom Arnold apparently got Twitter mocked for being on Alyssa Milano's list of has-been actors boycotting Georgia over their abortion act. And Georgia is one of those states that has now passed a law saying that you can have an abortion right up to the moment of birth. And I think that is just absolutely sick. Absolutely sick. Okay. Okay. Claire seems to be having some issues here. Okay. Over at the New York Post, they've come out with an editorial that seems to claim that only men believe there is a gender wage gap. That women apparently don't, which suggests that maybe the wage gap doesn't really exist. But it always makes for great politics by the liberals. All right, let's see. Story coming out of hideoutnow.com. American meritocracy is a myth. Recent scandals in politics and higher education show how the rich perpetuate inequality in the United States. And yes, it is a major scandal, and people need to be paying attention to it because there are students who deserve to be in these prestige universities, and they got aced out. because mom or dad made a donation and got them in, or they bribed a coach and got them in. And that's not the way the system is supposed to work. At bottom, I'm a meritocratist. I want to see the best people do well. I don't want to see the richest people do well. I want to see the best people do well. The best students, the best engineers, the best doctors, the best artists. That's what I want to see. And now we're finding out, of course, that higher education is rigged. It's completely rigged. Mom and dad bribes the kids' way into admissions. They hire somebody who does the term paper or takes the admission exams. It's just a huge scam deal that favors the rich. Anyway. Okay. We already talked about Biden making Ukraine fire their top prosecutor for investigating his son. Apparently, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is never really about poverty and it's not about the law, they have been maligning conservatives for years. We've even felt their wrath over here at whatreallyhappened.com. Apparently, Senator Tom Cotton wants an investigation of their tax status. Do they really qualify as a nonprofit? Well, Senator, I'm delighted that you're going after the SPLC, but I wish you would do exactly the same for the Clinton Foundation, because we know for a fact that it doesn't donate enough money to charity to qualify as a nonprofit charity. And that would make the Clintons personally liable for all that tax money. So please take a look at that. By the way, somebody was chastising Fox News. They came up the other day about how Trump was blocking funds to 3 Mexican countries. Now, come on, Fox News. There's one Mexican country. The others are Central American. You know, it's rather amazing. I look at the corporate media, and I see so many spelling mistakes and grammar errors. And it's almost like, where are they hiring these people? Are they all interns that are relatives of rich and famous people? But it does seem like there are all these mistakes in the corporate media. Alrighty, Ohio is now signing on to the list of states that want to change the Electoral College. It's going to take a constitutional amendment. The Democrats are trying a shortcut by simply getting states to agree that whoever wins the popular vote gets all the electors. And that's not what the Electoral College is supposed to do. The Electoral College is there to balance out the vote between the most populous parts of the country and the least populous parts of the country. Otherwise, without the Electoral College, basically San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, and Pennsylvania get to decide the election for everybody else. So, all right. Apparently over at, Christiane Amanpour, she was interviewing James Comey and asked why he didn't shut down the lock her up chants at the Trump rallies. Well, First Amendment. We have a First Amendment right to say, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And I still want to see her locked up. Okay, let's see. Over in Malaysia, in Georgetown, major flooding, major weather. It's been a rough winter, not just here in the United States of America. It's been a rough winter all over. And I feel sorry for all those people, whether it's Malaysia, Iran, the Midwest. All right, we got to take a break for commercials, our last break of our show today. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show today, and we're going to go back to the phones to Mark in Montana. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Howdy. I really wanted to put in a plug for mom and pop businesses.
Yes.
The death of Main Street has been absolutely one of the worst things that's happened to this country. When you shop at Walmart, you're supporting slavery. And all of the fellow Christians out there don't realize it, but you're celebrating forced slavery of Christians in China. So stay away from these places. And there are a lot of times there are better, even though you may not have your mom and pop hardware stores around. Lowe's and Home Depot are kind of evil corporations, but these little Ace hardware stores, even though they're using the Ace name, they're all independently owned by local people.
Yes.
So there are better options. You just do a little research. If you go out to eat, don't go to Denny's or go to the little mom and pop greasy spoon on the corner. I haven't eaten at a chain restaurant in, well, with the exception of Jack in the Box, in probably 2 years.
Yep.
So there's local places that cook food, that make awesome pizzas. You'll find that when you get away from the cookie cutter restaurant chains, that the food's better. It's better for you. You'll get to know the people that run the place, and they'll treat you better. I can't put a plea in it. I spent 10 years working in the corporate world in the oil business, and about 6 months ago, I left, and I work for a little mom and pop outfit. It's an oil field services outfit, but they're mom and pop. They treat me like family. Now, sometimes I may be babysitting the kid or feeding their puppies or, running to the grocery store, but it doesn't matter. I'm in a place where I know that we're working local, we're making money local, and we're not an evil corporation. That's what I wanted to throw in there, Mike.
Well, it's definitely important to support your local community. And some years ago, when Claire and I were still involved in the advertising industry, we got involved in what was called the Buy Hawaii program, and we made up a series of radio commercials to basically encourage that for people who live here in Hawaii to do business with Hawaiian-owned businesses. Because the big box stores like Walmart and Sam's Club and everything, they're basically just sucking the wealth out of our state and taking it out of state back to the mainland, and we need it to stay here. So Claire and I very much believe in supporting our local businesses, and of course we don't eat out a lot these days anyway for financial reasons. But we try and go to the local small businesses, the small vitamin store, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I firmly believe that. We got a program in Montana. It's called Made in Montana.
Yes.
And so they sell products and one of them is a product called Alpine Touch, which as a chef I use it on everything. It's a spice. Made in Montana. If you're not from Montana, you probably don't even know what it is. So I got a free plug-in for them, I guess. But when you go down, you'll find how much cheaper it is too.
Yeah.
When you go to the little mom and pop store if you eat out. So
yeah.
All right, here's the music, Michael, and I thank you for your time.
All right. Well, you got it. And yes, there's the music, and it is time to end our show. And stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's going to have lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Use email, paper mail, face-to-face conversation. Social media is an absolute desert for everything except funny cat videos. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.